Welcome to So Far Apart Together, a series of interviews with youth leaders and churchgoers where we look at how life has changed during lockdown. I've also asked them in advance if they have anything they'd like to share with the youth of Bethel and possibly the wider church. Something to encourage, something to embolden, maybe even to challenge. Today, joining me on the sofa, apart but together, Mel Lewis.
Hi everyone.
You all right?
I'm really well, thank you. How are you, Tim?
I'm okay. I'm excited. This is good. I'm having fun doing these. It's really nice to catch up with people.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me.
Pardon?
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. You are absolutely welcome on the sofa with me today. So how has it been going during lockdown, Mel?
Yeah, lockdown's been interesting. So I'm actually not in my own home. I ran away to Aberystwyth shortly before lockdown happened, and I've been here ever since. My fiance Tim lives here, and so I'm staying with him and his parents during the lockdown. I'm working full time from home, but his home, not mine. So it's been quite interesting.
Oh wow! So am I right in saying as well that you've actually during all of this period changed jobs as well?
Yes, I have. I was, coming up to a job change, and I wasn't really sure how that was going to work, given that I couldn't physically go to the office to kind of pick up my new work computer, and was told that they could post one to me. So I had a laptop arrive in the post and had to send my old one back to my old job. I set it up remotely, and it's been interesting. I did have the ability to meet some of my new colleagues before lockdown happened, which has been helpful. But it is really weird getting to know a new job and new colleagues when you can't be with them and talk to them.
I was going to say, like, what's one of the things that you've missed? Because obviously you've changed jobs and things. You've started jobs before and you've been able to go into the offices and things like that. But it must be so different. Like, for the first time, you're meeting brand new colleagues and you're doing it through things like this, through cameras and virtual calls and things.
There's been like some technical issues as well where people putting their cameras on just causes like the whole thing to crash. And so two of my teammates, I don't know what they look like.
They just look like their name on a black background. That's it. Oh my gosh. So with working, I mean, this is one of the things that we kind of looking at as a whole in the church is with working, like, what are you missing from the office? What are you missing from that environment?
It's those casual interactions and conversations with colleagues, I think. Both from a social perspective, I like to get to know my colleagues as people and understand them a bit better. But also I find that those conversations help with work as well. And it's just not being able to kind of quickly ask questions across the desk, especially in a new role. I have so many questions, and yet it feels such a big thing to have to maybe message someone and say, are you busy? Can I call you? Sorry for interrupting you. Whereas if you're just sat around desks with people, you can just kind of chit chat whenever you need to ask things. So I think it's just those small interactions that happen naturally in an office that you don't get when you're sat in a room by yourself.
Yeah, something that's so informal, like you say, just chatting across a desk or anything like that, just suddenly becomes a whole formal thing. It takes you a good 10 minutes to format the email, making sure that you've itemized all the bits that you need to know and like what exactly you need to know, because it must be really strange. But on the flip side though, what is something positive that you've gained out of this? Is there a new working practice that you've kind of picked up as you've been doing it?
I think I've really learned about kind of the benefits of working from home. So I've worked from home in the past on like the odd occasion. I've been fortunate enough that my job has always allowed that. But it was always just kind of me and a laptop, mostly sat on the sofa for like one day every now and again. Whereas now I have a setup with a monitor as well as my laptop. I've got my special keyboard and my special mouse because I've had some wrist problems. So I've got a proper chair, and all those things actually make a massive difference. And I'm one of the people going, hang on a minute, this isn't too bad. I don't think I would want to do it full-time, but certainly when going back into the office is allowed, I'll probably look to do a bit of both, because I find that the saving in terms of not having to commute, both in terms of my time and my money, actually makes a massive difference. So.
Definitely. And there is that certain amount of compartmentalizing where some things are easier to do at home, sitting on a sofa, like being a little bit more creative because your mind's in a bit more of a relaxed atmosphere. But then there's other things like that might be better in an office atmosphere where you've got that banter back and forth with your colleagues, but also you can kind of focus down because you're in that environment, aren't you? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I hear you've been going on lots of walks and things like that as well, and running.
Yeah, so I have been able to get back into running again. So one of the the things that has happened with lockdown is that obviously a lot of my commitments have kind of slowed down or stopped. And even though I'm still working full time in the day, I have more evening time. So I've been able to go out for a run pretty much every other day, which would have been like unheard of a year ago because I was so busy. And I've been running along the seafront here in Aberystwyth, which has been absolutely beautiful. And also, yeah. And it's been really lovely to feel kind of my fitness improving and have that be a really positive aspect to being locked down. And Tim and I have also been going on some really beautiful walks. There is so much right on the doorstep here. So even though we haven't been allowed to drive to go and exercise, we haven't needed to, and we've even discovered some new bits of woodland that even he didn't know about before, which has been really lovely.
Oh, that's lush! And you've been taking the doggo out with you as well?
Oh yeah, she's a lively dog.
So we need to know one breed of dog. What kind of dog is he?
Oh, so it's a she. So. Caddy is a border collie cross with a poodle, and so
so if you were going to rate the floofiness of the dog from 1 to 10, how floofy are we talking?
I mean, it depends if you're talking beginning of lockdown or now. Like, so floofy.
Has she just gone poof like a big puffball now?
Yeah, well, we have tried to give her a bit of a haircut. It wasn't super successful because the dog clippers we bought wouldn't go through her fur. But because it was so hot, we just went at her with scissors.
Oh,
and she was really good. She was really good to kind of stand there and let us do it. So she's had a bit of the weight taken off, but
I suppose quite appreciative of the breeze afterwards, like being able to cool down a bit, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, bless.
But, yeah, no, she's an energetic dog, and she's been enjoying going for walks on the beach and splashing around in the rock pools, and just kind of having a good old run around. So.
And having people around more often, I think a lot of pets are going to get really confused when people go back to work because they're going to be like, well, wait a minute, you've been here all the time. Like, where are you going now?
Yeah, I think she's going to struggle.
Definitely. So you've been doing a Bible in a Year program, is that right?
Yes.
How do you find that? Because I've had the notion of starting a Bible in the Year program, but I don't know quite how it works practically. Like, can you explain like how it looks for you in your life?
Yeah, so this is actually the third time I've done the Bible in a Year, and it's something that I'm really passionate about and think that everybody should try. So I guess it's just about finding that space in your day when you can fit it in. So for some people that might be first thing in the morning. Quite often when I first did it, I was doing it last thing at night. This time it's a bit different because Tim and I are reading through it together and having conversations about what we've read afterwards. So, previously before lockdown, when we were apart, we would kind of read it separately at whatever point in the day was convenient. And then we phone each other every night and would take time then to talk about it. Now it kind of just forms part of the routine here, that we will have our evening meal. We'll then do a crossword with a cup of tea, and then maybe do a bit of kind of admin work stuff, and then sit down together, read the passages for the day, and have a little chat about it, and then pray together.
Oh, wow. So really, really chilled out approach kind of thing, and just kind of reading together and really just encompassing it in your daily life.
Yeah, and I think it's a really special time and something that we both really appreciate. Especially being able to have a conversation about it, because there's things that I will, pick up on, that I can explain to him, and things that he teaches me about the passage, especially when we can recall sermons that we've heard and be able to share that kind of with each other. And even though this is not the first time I've done it, there's always something new that stands out to me, and always more to learn.
Absolutely. And when you, like you said, when you bounce off other people as well, you get to learn their knowledge. And it's a wonderful thing as well for you and Tim to share so early on in your relationship, is to just have that foundation of God being that third member of that relationship, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Really exciting.
It is definitely, it's awesome. I asked you if you could prepare something, maybe a little thing just for the youth in the church, just to encourage or embolden them. Can you let me know what it is you're going to be sharing?
Yeah. So I was just thinking about how this is a difficult time for everybody, no matter what your circumstances are. And for some people, it's difficult because there's loads going on for them, and for some people, it's difficult because there's not enough going on for them. There's all sorts of circumstances, but it's hard for everybody, and it can be all too easy to kind of get bogged down in that and forget to look for what God is doing. And I was reminded of a passage from John's Gospel, which I'll just read. So this is John 9, starting at verse 1. And it says, as he, which is Jesus, went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Neither this man nor his parents sinned, said Jesus, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. And I'd like to read it, kind of a bit of that in the Message version as well, where Jesus, it kind of phrases Jesus' response like this: you're asking the wrong question. You're looking for someone to blame. There is no such cause-effect here. Look instead for what God can do. And I just think it's really important in this time to look for what God can do and be excited for what God can do, even though it's difficult. It can be easy to think about the trying to apportion blame or try to dig down to why this has happened, and those are important questions for some people to answer, or it can be tempting to try and look for a reason that this happened. And Jesus says those aren't necessarily the right questions for us to be asking all the time, but instead, what is God going to do? It made me think of the phrase that people quite often throw around, that everything happens for a reason, and maybe you guys might have been hearing people say that about this time. I don't really think the Bible necessarily supports that, but I do think that the Bible says that God can bring good out of bad things. So I'd like to read another verse, which is from Romans 8, and it says, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. And so I would say that instead of maybe trying to find blame, instead of maybe trying to find reason, thinking about what is God doing, and kind of asking that question in your own life, and for our nation, and for the church, and for our world as well, and get on board with God, what God is doing.
Oh, fantastic! Oh, thank you very much for that, Mel. That's brilliant. It is a really big challenge at the moment, isn't it? Because there's so much going on, and there's so many people looking for answers for things, whether it be the answer of a vaccine, or whether it be the answer. We discovered, the statistics at the moment of people turning to prayer to find answer in prayer are massive. There's loads of people trying it out for the first time.
Just thinking about, for the young people, that in our church, and maybe thinking about how I might have felt if this situation had happened when I was younger. It's really difficult because your education is disrupted. You're not sure how the plans you might have had for your life are now going to play out. The future is uncertain for everyone at the moment, and it can be easy to sort of get too caught up in those "why me, why now" kind of questions, and you know, is there a reason for this? Is there something good that this bad thing had to happen so that something good can happen? And sometimes God is in that, but I believe that always when bad things happen, God can work in a way that when we look back, we can see the meaning in the things that have happened in our lives.
Yeah, I've always found, both me and Yale are big proponents for hindsight, of looking at situations that we've been in and being able to reflect and see where God was during that time. It's one of those weird things that sometimes you go through it because you're focusing so much on the actual issue, you don't realize who's there with you, and the ways that he's guiding you through that situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, totally. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of uncertainty for a lot of our young people, and there's a lot of blame being thrown around as to what's going on. But thank you for your words, for the word that you brought us, definitely. And I hope it's encouraging for you at home. I hope you've gotten something from this. If you've got any questions or anything, please, the email link is below in the description. Please get in touch and we'll pass it on to Mel. Thank you very much, Mel, for what you shared with us tonight, and I hope it has encouraged some of our young people in the church as well as the wider church with the situation that they're facing at the moment, and how it's not necessarily a blame game, but to see God's faithfulness in the situation that you're in at the moment. Yeah, I would really encourage you to just look around, use and stand in faith that God is with you at the moment, definitely. Thank you very much, Mel, for joining me on the sofa. Hopefully catch up with you again soon sometime.
Thank you. It's been a privilege to be part of this, so thanks for having me.
Thanks, Mel. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me on the sofa for this wonderful interview. If you want to see any more interviews, I'm sure they'll be available in the boxes next to me. Please keep tuning in, and if you want to be interviewed yourself, please give us a shout on the email in the description below. Bye-bye.